Hi everyone, I'm Nadia, and in today's video my mom is making a beautiful marble inspired resin tray. She has her mold out and ready, and the first thing that she's doing is preparing her resin. She's using craft resin, which is a 1:1 ratio by volume, so she measures equal parts of the A and B and then mixes the two together. I'll have a discount code in my description for craft resin, so if you want to give them a try, be sure to check that out. She mixes well for 3 to 5 minutes, but you can mix until you no longer see any streaks in your resin and it's looking crystal clear. She transfers the majority of her resin into a smaller cup, and because this is going to be a marble inspired tray, the main color will be white, so she's adding just resin's pigment paste in the shade Titanium White. She adds a generous amount because she wants it to be very opaque. She adds in a little bit more of the white pigment paste and continues mixing. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our YouTube members. Thank you so much for joining our channel and supporting our creations. Once her pigment is mixed in well into the resin, she's ready to pour into her mold. She uses a torch gun to pop any air bubbles, and whenever you're using a torch gun, you want to be extra careful to move it quickly so you don't burn your resin or your molds. Now with the remaining resin that she has, she's going to be separating it into smaller cups to add in her pigments. Anytime you're using a pigment paste, you'll always want to mix it in the container first before you add some into your cup of resin, because the contents while sitting in that jar can separate. The first pigment she's going to add in is just resin's pigment paste in the shade Sage. Her next pigment is just resin's Green Ice. And I'll have a discount code for just resin in my description. In her third cup, she adds a small spoonful of craft resin's mica powder in the shade Silver. And she pours a little bit of resin into her last cup, where she'll be adding just resin's pigment paste in the shade Parchment. To achieve a natural looking marble effect, she's going to be pouring these colors in a dirty pour. To do so, she has a cup filled with some of her white pigment paste resin, and then rotates, adding a small amount of each colored pigmented resin, and pours little by little on top of each color. Then she takes a wooden stick and mixes it very slightly. And she takes her cup and starts pouring into her molds. She uses her wooden stick and some of the resin that is spilled out of the mold to add in little details. Her original plan was to make this into a jewelry stand, so she came back before the resin has fully hardened and demolded. To prop it into the shape of a jewelry stand, she used a stack of books as well as some tape to make sure that it stays in place. Though once she had everything in place, she realized that it kind of looked like a tombstone. So she quickly changed her mind and flattened her resin piece. And to make sure that it stays flat while continuing its hardening process, She placed a heavy book on top. Once it's completely hardened, she added some liquid latex onto the back side to be able to add a top coat out of the molds, and she lightly sands the surface. This is a good idea to do, especially if a few days have gone by from your initial pour, and this will just ensure that your top coat will bond to your initial layer of resin. She uses a leveling tool to make sure that her surface is leveled before adding on her top coat, and this is something that you always want to check. She's mixing in her resin once more, and again she's using craft resin, and craft resin is a great resin to use as a top coat because it has a very high heat and scratch resistance. She mixes the two parts together, and once it's mixed in well, you can let your cup of resin sit for around 5 to 10 minutes, and a lot of the air bubbles will rise to the top and pop on their own. Then she pours on the top coat. Again, using a torch gun to pop any air bubbles. She uses a silicone makeup brush to make sure that the resin has reached the very edge and that it's covered the entire area. She also uses a wooden stick to pick out any imperfections that she's noticed on the surface of the resin, such as little dust particles or fibers. Now she's adding in her handles, and she's using these beautiful bird handles. I'll have everything that you see in this video listed in my description. She added on a gold trim, and here's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Follow me on my Instagram, Summer Girl Designs, and my mom's Instagram, Wild Heart Resin Art.